Okay, so today I'm here with Amy, who I've been working with for a few years now. And we've been through a lot of different phases together, and you've made some really amazing progress. And so I thought it would be cool to sit down and just chat about the experience from your perspective. So, where I would start is really kind of where you were and what brought you to seek out coaching in the first place.
Sure. I have always struggled with my weight since I was a little kid.
Hmm.
Maybe in my late 20s, early 30s, I was just really unhappy. I had really poor body image. Um, my doctor was like, "Hey, you're actually getting into the overweight realm and we got to watch your
Hmm.
weight." So I decided to seek out some coaching, and it was really helpful in helping me break down not just about what to eat, but thinking about it from for me, a macrobiotic point of view of, oh, if I
Hmm.
balance these three key components, that'll actually keep me fuller longer, fueled for my workouts, but also when to time eating too, of like making sure that you're eating your carbs around your workout, especially if you're doing
Yeah.
some cardio. So it was really informative at that time for me to kind of wrap my head around nutrition
Hmm.
and it would take breaks from time to time. And so I think I
Yeah.
came back to it in 2021, I want to say.
Hmm.
Maybe later, maybe a little later. Actually, it was probably a little
Yeah.
later because I'd gone through SIBO. I went through a divorce
Yeah.
and everything, the wheels totally fell off of everything.
As they do.
As they do. Yeah, my hormones were out of whack. I had
Yeah.
full-blown SIBO and SIFO, and I lost all of that muscle mass that I had
Mm.
so like clawed to get.
Yes.
My weight was just fluctuating by the minute, if not by the
Yeah.
day. So I wanted some help nutritionally again. So I set up coaching for probably the fifth time or something of that nature, just because
Yeah.
I had had such great success before, and I thought, hey, let's do this again.
Yeah. Okay. So how did that make you feel, like just that back and forth and knowing like how far you had come and then now, oh gosh, I've got to do it all over again.
Yeah, it at first felt daunting, mostly because at that time I was also leading some fitness group classes. So I was a fitness
Hmm.
coach for group classes, and I was starting to get gassed just teaching
Yeah.
classes. I ended up having to leave that job because I just felt crappy.
Hmm.
And so it felt really kind of demoralizing at first of
Yeah.
just like, wow, I was so healthy, so kind of peak performance, probably the best shape I'd ever been in. And then
Hmm.
to kind of turn around and just be like, wow, I'm getting through a workout. I can't, if I had, let's see, if I was doing like a circuit, I could only get through it twice. So I couldn't do the third round of it. And so
Yeah.
that felt just out of character for me altogether. So yeah, at first it felt
Yes.
really daunting, but I think that's why coaching was so helpful because pun intended, we broke it down to bite-sized pieces where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, you're working through, I was on the last end of some of my SIBO stuff. So you're starting to eat more foods. Let's talk about
Hmm.
other foods you can do and slowly work up the caloric
Yeah.
intake. Because for those who've never had SIBO, it becomes really, really tough. In my case, it was very, very tough to eat because everything made me uncomfortable, lots of
Right.
stomach cramping, feeling bloated.
Hmm.
So my caloric intake went way down. And so just trying to
Yeah.
claw my way back so that my body would even say, hey, this is enough nutrition to put muscle back on.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
slow going. And it was humbling to know that it was going to be a process and a journey.
It's really hard to like wrap your head around just like the time frame that it actually takes to come back from something like that. You want it to like be instantaneous, and it takes time and patience with not only the process but with yourself.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of brings us to when we first started working together. We worked together with another company, and then um I think a couple years or so maybe before that shut down.
Yeah. I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
and then we stuck together. You stuck with me, came with me when I went out on my
Perfect.
own, and I'm so grateful for that. what made you decide to continue with coaching after that transition?
Honestly, the rapport I had with you and working together with the previous company, I felt like there were some parameters that company had to where we kind of had to
Hmm.
work within that
Yeah,
nutritionally. But you heard me when I said, man, carbs are really hard for me right now. I'm
yeah.
still coming back from all of this. I need to slow go it. And you never push me to say, well, if you want to put on muscle, you're going to have to eat this many carbs. You really just listen to me and within still the parameters work with me to say, okay, we can
Hmm.
play with this. Let's really look at the picture here. And so as I was becoming more aware that maybe I wasn't quite aware. I think it was like the very first beginnings of being in perimenopause. I was also like,
Hmm.
hey, great. That's also going to be added to this. I
Something
need
fun and new to
when
factor
you figure
in.
one thing out, here's a whole other host of
Yeah.
things. I felt like because you listened to me, because you were always open and working with me, that it was just a no-brainer. I think I reached out to you I totally stalked you on social media. I
Yeah,
was like, are you still going to do this? Because please don't stop.
I think you were one of the ones that reached out to me, and I just, for me, that was so great to see, and what motivated me in that, like, that was a really crazy time, and like motivated me to keep doing something that I'm so passionate about. And so I'm really grateful for those that have stuck with me and like reached out afterwards. And so again, thank you so much
Oh,
for that.
thank you for agreeing to keep doing it.
So, you know, that scenario is a little different than how people typically get started with coaching. Did you have any doubts around like continuing with that? Because I know, you know, a lot of people that were in that same boat were kind of put off and like disappointed in the fact that, the company shut down pretty much overnight. We were all like, okay, what do we do now? So were there any doubts or fears in rolling straight into another program?
No, no. And one thing I should note was I had been with that company and I had taken a break when I started having
Hmm.
SIBO. And before coming back to that company, I had actually just sought out some help from like a registered dietitian just to help
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
I was trying to figure out foods and what I could do to heal my gut.
Yeah.
And I was so I don't want to say disappointed. That's not the right word. I felt still so lost in
Yes.
what to do, how, I didn't know. She was a very, very intuitive person. And I
Hmm.
know like when you talk to some dietitians, they're just like, eat the rainbow and listen
Yeah.
to you. And I was like, no, I don't think you understand. I can't listen to me because I don't have the same food cues right now because my stomach is a
I've
whole.
tried that before.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not a great intuitive eater. So when I agreed to come back to the company, I was like kind of all in. So no, I didn't really have any
Hmm.
worries about switching over. I think if anything, it was just kind of thinking about how will this be different, and
Yeah.
I had a hope it would go different in one way, and it
Yeah.
did. It went that way. So I was like, okay, great, this is even better. So that's perfect.
Yeah. So I get that. And I actually had a lot of similar conversations. It was like, okay, you know, because some people wanted that, like they wanted to continue it with what they had been doing. And then, other people, and I kind of rebelled in that way too, because I would work with people a little bit more than like, oh, well, you can do this, but then if this happens, it's not on us. And I'm like, okay. um so I'd already kind of like you said, kind of shifted how I did things, but trying to stay within those parameters. And so it was really important for me going into like branching away from that to evolve it and like actually make it something of its own that was actually catered to each individual person, rather than like cut and dry, like, okay, these are the macros you're doing, like this is the what we're, stuff like that. And so um I've really worked to make sure that that's the case and that things are individualized. um So I think you kind of covered a couple of the questions. So, and that kind of transitions us really well. What do you feel has been different this past year compared to programs you've done in the past?
Yeah, the other thing I'll say about the company we came from was I do think that they were amassing data and they were tweaking things as they were getting
Mhm.
algorithms and data and being able to kind of compare and contrast.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, and you could totally prove me wrong because you have the back behind the scenes information.
Yeah.
I always questioned if they were separating out groups by gender or not by gender, but like if you identify or if you have a uterus versus you don't,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
how hormones might change within that. Or age groups, okay, so a
Right.
45-year-old woman is very different than a 28-year-old man by
Yeah.
using terms like woman and man, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So what I was going through felt a little more unique than maybe just
Hmm.
amassing all the data together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 I felt the same way as you. Like,
Mhm.
are we taking into consideration lifestyle, health history, um, and factors like that, and aging and the different hormones, and just how the body's physiology changes through the years, no matter gender,
Mhm.
um, and how we have to kind of adapt for that and
Yeah.
take into consideration. Um, and so, yeah, I definitely feel the same as you, that like that's somewhere that they fell short for sure.
Yeah.
Um, how about how, and again, a beautiful transition again, but how about how we've done that? So adjusting for things like, because you have a history of type 1 diabetes in your family, you're not pre-diabetic, but you kind of, we focus your nutrition with keeping that in mind, and the perimenopause, and keeping you on track with like your strength training and balancing your lifts with your
Yeah.
pickleball and activities that you love, because you're very active, you strength train. And then you have like the history of SIBO and those
Yeah.
other things going on. And excuse me, um you go ahead
Yeah,
and
sure.
talk
No,
about that while I clear my
no,
throat.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking in the back of my mind, oh yeah, and the diabetes. So I'm glad you brought up diabetes
Hmm.
because I think that was something else that was playing in my mind. I sometimes feel in this tricky little vice of, man, my gut sure would love just some simple white rice. It would really, digest that well. But because I have such a strong family lineage of diabetes, I've always got to take into consideration how that might affect my insulin resistance, especially as
Yeah.
I'm going now into perimenopause. And so I've really appreciated you and continuing your education because I've kind of witnessed you keep continuing
Mhm.
learning things about diabetes and continuous glucose monitors and gut health. So and hormones. So I very much appreciate that. And
Mhm.
so as you're learning things, you're able to then help me, and I'll, again, pun intended, digest this information of, okay, how can we balance certain things and maybe bringing
Mhm.
in different supplements like berberine or glycine to help me sleep, all
Mhm.
these different things that can just help
Yeah.
support the whole system because there are, like, I might be a little bit of a rarity, and maybe I'm not, maybe maybe I am one of many, many people going through this, but it does seem like there's so many factors at play. And I just so appreciate that you're able to kind of take, you have a very beautiful knack to be able to take the Hawkeye view from a 10,000-foot level, but then also go
Mhm.
into the macro view of saying, okay, or the micro view of saying, okay, now let's look at the details and what are things we
Right.
can tweak to help that system continue to improve and a soft landing into menopause and all the good things.
And it's important to kind of experiment with that and kind of see like how does the body respond. um what are our next steps, and how are we going to adapt to this particular season. And again, it's not a one size fits all approach, and so actually coaching the person rather than staying within those confines has been really, really helpful, not just for me, but for my members. And I'd love to see you all like flourish and like be able to kind of like make this journey your own, where I'm a part of it, but you're really the guiding light. What is taking the information, because we're not treating, diagnosing, or doing anything like that, but we're working like in a partnership with you and me and your healthcare team, education and like bringing awareness to, okay, like this is something maybe we should look at, or and things like that. And so
Absolutely.
um, that's just been so rewarding and fulfilling for me from a coach perspective to see everybody kind of move beyond this, that kind of narrow field that we were in before. So I've really enjoyed this past year. um, let's
One thing I'll add to
see.
that
Yeah.
too, if it's okay. One piece we haven't talked about is also just kind of the behavioral components too, right? Like,
Hmm.
so just the other day, I'll disclose I was having some issues with feeling bloated, and you were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, babe, you've been stressed out." It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, you're stressed. Your body's holding on to things. So, talking about mindfulness and
Hmm.
journaling and seeking support, making sure I'm resourced
Yeah.
not just with food, exercise, staying hydrated, but also
Yeah.
are we taking care of the mental health? Are we taking care of behavioral health, things of that nature? So it all, I mean, just that holistic view is so
Hmm.
important. And so I also just appreciate those reminders of, have
Yeah.
you meditated lately? Ah,
We could all use a little more.
a little
Um,
more.
yeah, and that's definitely been something that's another thing that's been, again, so fulfilling and rewarding, because we're not having to just look at, okay, well, in the past it was, have you hit your macro numbers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
And that was it. And
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah. It
maybe
was,
we
what's
do
your
this.
weight? And
Yeah, yep.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have your weight? Like, oh, your steps are looking a little low. But
Yeah.
that's exactly like what they wanted from us. But being able to kind of help, not just from, yes, we need to look at calories and things like that, but what other things are we incorporating? Behavior, mindset. We have so many tools in our toolbox that we can use to help on this journey and these transformations. Um, and to like put blinders onto those things, I don't feel like is doing anybody a
Mm-mm.
service.
I agree.
So let's kind of talk about where you are now compared to where you were and how things have improved. Um, Changes in your body, like you've been, I feel like every check-in for the last few weeks you've had PRs, or you're like coming in second all tournaments. And so you've really
Yeah.
been thriving this last year. I know there's some digestive things, but you travel a lot. And so like there's a lot of
Mhm.
factors there. But despite all of that and a very busy schedule and social life, you're like still crushing it with workouts and hitting your PRs and all of the things. So I'll let you kind of talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. It feels so exciting to, yeah, be able to lift like I used to and be like
Mhm.
energized by the workout
Yeah.
rather than feeling crushed by it. And
Hmm.
I've certainly played around with, do I do a whole body workout or do I do just a couple lifts every day? So
Yeah.
kind of doing my own experiments to see what works best for me right now, at least.
Hmm.
And yeah, I can see the muscle tone coming back on. I think I told you
Yeah.
the day I was playing pickleball and the lady I was playing across the court with hadn't seen me for a month. She's like, "Dang, Amy, you look jacked." And I was like,
Thanks. Those are the best compliments. Like they make me so
compliment.
happy.
And I want to say some of the PRs I've hit are like life PRs, not just like as I've been coming
Yeah.
back. So it's really exciting to see
Awesome.
that I'm stronger in some ways than I ever have been. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to have energy to go then play, pickleball for a couple of hours a day also feels
Hmm.
phenomenal. Yeah.
And we've made sure to cater your nutrition for that.
Yeah.
Even when you were in a deficit phase, like we made sure that we
Yeah.
approached that in a way that you were still able to maintain the
Hmm.
activities that you enjoy and that like give you energy in life. And so,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I mean, I think we did that. The journey you're talking about of when I was in a fat loss stage,
mhm,
I was getting ready for my wedding. So it wasn't just like,
yeah,
oh, I'm in a fat loss phase, which is like kind of a
yeah,
stressful time anyway, but I was getting ready for a wedding. And I think we had a wedding the
all of
weekend
all of the things that
after.
came with that.
Right. And to
Yeah.
be able to hold on, I think I had done a body composition before and after the fat loss cycle, and I had actually put on a pound and a half of muscle
Hmm.
during that journey. So to have done that felt incredible.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is it's rare to see something like that happen, and that just goes to show like just the dedication, but also like we can positively affect body composition without being like miserable,
Oh,
starved.
totally.
Like it
Totally.
doesn't,
Yes.
fat loss or deficit, like, however you like to refer to it, like they suck. And that's why we don't want to do them like forever or like, super
Mhm.
often, but they don't have to like completely deplete us. And then we have to spend months kind of like recovering from it. Like
Yeah.
they don't have to be that way. And so, um, I feel like a lot of people have been experiencing that in the last year too, and it
Yes.
also another really exciting
And
thing
that
to
was
see.
something you did different than the other company because they had a very regimented how a fat loss
Hmm.
cycle or a deficit looked
Hmm.
and how much time you took off, and then you go right back into the next one.
Yeah.
We actually spread ours out
Hmm.
kind of bookended by the year almost. And the second one,
Yeah.
because I had the wedding and was stressed out and wanted to keep doing fitness, the ability to, I think what we did was we kind of made it less intense but over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
That was perfect
Yep.
for me at that time. I was
Yep.
exactly what I needed to do rather than being like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going in,
Exactly.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
there's a time and a place for that too. Like
That's
sometimes
what
I
I
would
was just
love a
about to
get
say. There's
in and get
sometimes,
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's sometimes when we just have to like dial in and focus, but then
totally.
again, just taking into account, like, all right, what are we getting ready for? Like, what goal are we working towards? What do we want to do in that time frame? Um, and working towards that for like each person and what works best for you. So, let's see. I think we could wrap it up with maybe a couple more questions. So, if someone was watching this and wondering if one-on-one coaching was worth it, what would you tell them?
Oh, absolutely. Without a hesitation.
Cut and
Um,
dry.
yeah, do it. No, I think if you are feeling lost, if you're feeling stuck, if you're not seeing the growth improvement that you're wanting, coaching with you specifically, I would say, is so worth
Mhm.
it because it's not, again, it's not just some cookie cutter. I see some Instagram folks talking about,
Yeah.
come join with me. And I'm like, oh, the fact that you're already saying that you want to start someone in a deficit, it's not always the right thing for someone, right? So,
Mhm.
um, Jess is going to take your whole picture. She's going to listen to everything you have going on in your life, what your short-term goals are, what your long-term goals are,
Yeah.
and create a plan as a partner with you and if needed, your medical team to create a path for you. And
Mhm.
it's beautiful because it makes it so much easier, but it's also dynamic. So if you try something, you're like, man, this isn't working, or I'm really struggling to hit my
Yeah.
protein, for instance, you'll work with them. So it can feel scary or it can feel daunting at first, but really you break it
Mhm.
down so beautifully that it's to me it's a no-brainer. But if anybody,
Yeah.
give it a try. And I think you've always been really open to feedback. If something's not working,
Mhm.
you're very open to it and very approachable. So
Yeah.
if anybody's on the fence, give it a try.
I love it. So now, I mean, you've had a solid foundation for quite some time, but I'd love to hear what it is that you're excited to be working towards next.
um, Building more muscle. Yeah, I'm already seeing the recomposition of my
Hmm.
body, and it's super exciting. And okay, so last year I was playing pickleball down in Mexico, and this 70-something-year-old woman had the most beautiful rounded shoulders, and she was just a crusher on the court. And I was like, I want to be you when I grow up. So I want to continue, it's not just about longevity. Longevity is number one. Maybe I should
Right.
say longevity, making sure I'm not getting diabetic, making sure I get through perimenopause
Yeah.
just well. But I do have aesthetic goals as well.
Yeah.
I want someone to holler across the court, "Hey, girl, you're jacked." I do have goals. and then also just continuing to feel really great. Like, as I age, as I get closer to 71, can I
Hmm.
still move on the court? Can I still go lift my dog if she injures herself on a trail? Am I
Hmm.
still on the trail? Those
Yeah.
things. We live out in Colorado, so we love being outside and doing activities.
Hmm.
I want to continue that ability, and I want to make sure that the genetics I have predispositions
Hmm.
for, I'm able to mitigate them as best I can from the things I can do, the behavioral things I can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And I can't wait. I love, I really love it when, you know, overall muscle gain is the goal. And like you said, longevity is the long game for sure. But the great news is like the things that you have to do to get those aesthetic shoulders and things like that are all things that help with the longevity. Um,
Exactly.
it's just being smart about it and making sure like you can stay in the game. And so I love that, and I'm excited to work with you on that and continue. So yeah, anything else you'd like to add or anything like that?
Um, yeah, just, I think thank you so much for all of the work that you've done and that you continue to do this. And thank you for taking the time to get to know each. I know you have so many folks, you have a ton of clients.
Yeah,
And so the fact that you're
yeah.
able to look at each of us in this holistic way, it's awesome. And I just appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm so
Oh,
thrilled to continue working with you too.
thank you so much.